So our former captain, Sam Morsy, already seems to have departed his new club. The Blackburn Rovers result is still very much up in the air. And then there's a small matter of Portsmouth at home this weekend. I suppose we better crack on. Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Harvey Bell. Delighted to have your company over the next few minutes as we discuss all of the news that is happening around Ipswich Town at the minute. And there is quite a lot to go through actually. Lots up in the air, lots happening, and it's all a bit weird to be honest with you. As we go through the video, I'd love to hear your thoughts on all the matters that we do discuss, and I'd love to hear your score predictions for Ipswich Town versus Portsmouth. Whilst you're there, if you could subscribe to the channel as well, that would be really, really great. But we are going to start today by talking about Sam Morsy, because this is a very, very weird situation that has come about in the last couple of days. Of course, a tremendous captain during his 4 years at Portman Road for Ipswich Town. And when he left in the summer to go over to Q8, it seemed like he was going somewhere where actually was really good for his family, presumably on better money, nearer to where his family originated from. And, you know, everybody wished him well because it seemed like the natural step in the closing stages of his career. But it doesn't seem like it's worked out, because just 3 games into his Q8 tenure, he is, unfortunately, already not one of their players. His contract has been terminated by mutual consent, according to local reports. And I guess the main thing to say here is that it hasn't actually been confirmed by Q8, but all of the local journalists around there are reporting it. And it does seem like a very, very strange situation. I've searched the internet to try and find out exactly why it may be. I mean, there's not really any indication as to why. He was sent off in their game on Sunday, so I do wonder if that's got something to do with it. Maybe they don't like their players getting sent off, but to get rid of your players over that sort of thing, especially a first red card, does seem particularly harsh. But it's not for me to sit here and speculate on, because ultimately I don't know. All it is really is to wish Sam Morsy well, because Ipswich Town fans, we all think of him very fondly, and I don't like to think that this move hasn't worked out well for him. Hopefully he can find somewhere soon and start playing football again. I know some Ipswich Town fans have jokingly said about him coming back to Ipswich, but I can't really see that happening, just because I think the club would have moved on. I think Morsy's probably closed that chapter in his life, and it wouldn't really make a lot of sense, to be honest with you. And he wouldn't be able to play till January anyway. He can't sign for an English club until January because he wouldn't be able to be registered. So I do think that one's off the cards. But it'll be interesting to see where he does go next. I did also want to mention as well, whilst we're speaking of former Ipswich Town players, Nathan Broadhead did score 2 goals for Wrexham the other night in the EFL Cup. They are the first 2 goals that he scored for Wrexham, and therefore I thought it was worth mentioning, because I'm sure Ipswich Town fans would be wanting to see him do well as well. So well done to Nathan Broadhead for that. But back to focusing on current affairs with Ipswich Town, and very, very strange circumstances on Saturday, of course away at Blackburn, and the game got postponed with Blackburn 1-0 up because of a waterlogged pitch. Now, it seems crazy to say that for a championship fixture in 2025, but that is exactly what transpired, and we've been trying to guess what's going to happen sort of since that actually happened on Saturday, in terms of what happens to the result. Does the result stand? Did Blackburn get all the points, or does the whole game get replayed? Well, we have had a little bit of an update, which I'll read to you now. It's a statement from the EFL. Following the abandonment of the Sky Bet Championship fixture between Blackburn Rovers and Ipswich Town, the 2 clubs were given a deadline of 4 p.m. today, which is the 24th of September, to make any final representations to the league. Once in receipt of the submissions, the matter will be discussed by the EFL board before the end of this week, with the outcome confirmed shortly thereafter. Okay, so basically, we're going to have a result by the end of the week, whatever that may be. Come what may, we're going to know if Ipswich Town are heading back to Blackburn for a full replay, a partial replay, or whether Blackburn are just going to get the points because they were 1-0 up. Honestly, I've tried to take my blue tinted glasses off, but I can't see anything other than a full replay being fair, because the pitch wasn't really playable for the whole of the second half. It did get called off in the 80th minute, but the conditions weren't really suitable for most of the second half. So really, I think a full replay is the necessary thing. But it does seem strange to me that the decision is taking so long, and that does make me wonder if perhaps they are going to go down a different direction, because otherwise I thought it'd be quite straightforward and announced already. But again, who am I to speculate? Ultimately, the EFL board, which is going to be made up of representatives from different championship clubs and different clubs from the EFL, are going to come to a decision, and we're going to have to live with it either way. So all we can do really is hope that Mark Ashton has stayed on good terms with all of his counterparts throughout the English Football League. But instead of trying to second guess what's going to happen from last Saturday's result, I guess we need to turn our attention to this Saturday's fixture, which is Ipswich Town versus Portsmouth. But before we do that, it is time for a new feature on the show. It's Guess Blue, and this is basically Guess Who, the classic childhood board game, but with an Ipswich Town spin on things. I'm going to give you 3 words, and you have to guess which former Ipswich Town player I'm talking about. So here are the first ever Guess Blue 3 words: Danish, derby, and throw-in. So please tell me down in the comments which former Ipswich Town player I'm talking about. And I don't know what the prize is. I might like your comment, I might reply to your comment, or I might even mention it in the next video. We'll have to wait and see. But let's get back to our main feature, which is talking about Ipswich Town versus Portsmouth at Portman Road this Saturday. 2 teams that will be looking for a better weekend than last. Obviously, Ipswich, as we've spoken about, the abandoned game against Blackburn Rovers. For Portsmouth, a 2-0 defeat away at Sheffield Wednesday. Now, that's a very, very funny result because Sheffield Wednesday are in all sorts of trouble at the minute, so you'd have expected Portsmouth to go there and win. Ultimately, they didn't, but it's football and these things happen. Do not let that result fool you, though, because Portsmouth are going to be decent this year. They got promoted from League One the season before last, really steadied the ship last season, never really looked at risk of going back down, and probably performed better than a lot of teams thought that they probably would. And, you know, they ended up with a mid-table finish last season, and this season they're going to be looking to push on. They've got a couple of wins on the board already, a couple of draws. Very, very steady start to the season under Mourinho. But I do think they'll be amongst the chasing pack for the playoffs this season. I'm not sure that they'll actually get into the top 6, but I do think they are going to be a tricky team for teams to take on this year. Do not sleep on them at all. For those stat lovers amongst you as well, Portsmouth have only conceded 0.7 goals away from home per game this season, which is quite decent, to be fair to them. You know, that's less than a goal a game, so quite impressive. Shows that they're going to be quite hard to break down as well. Got some really, really good players attacking wise. Colby Bishop, proven striker at this level, very capable of scoring goals if given the chance. Dara O'Shea and whoever it may be next to him, if it's Kipri or Greaves, I mean, because we don't know if Greaves is suspended or not, are going to have to be very, very tight there on Colby Bishop. Of course, they've got Kamara as well, just behind him, one of the most creative players in the division. And just ultimately, as a team, they press really, really well. So, you know, Portsmouth are a very, very good outfit at this level. I do think that Ipswich Town should really be stronger, but I just don't think that you can sleep on Portsmouth. I think they're better than a lot of people give them credit for. And again, another one for all of you stat lovers is we can look again at the last 5 meetings between the 2 teams. Ipswich Town have won 2 of them. Portsmouth have won 2, and there's been a draw. Make of that what you will. Ultimately, it will come down to whatever happens on Saturday. You know, history doesn't really mean a lot, in my opinion, when it comes to the meeting between the 2 teams on the day. Ultimately, it's going to come down to squad selection. And as of right now, we haven't really heard any news of injuries to the Ipswich Town squad, which is always positive. Usually there's rumours flying about if somebody's going to be injured. I'm sure we'll hear from Kieran McKenna before the end of the week if there is any major updates. But really the only one at the minute that probably will miss out is Jacob Greaves, because again, it goes back to that Blackburn game where he got sent off. Nobody really knows if the red card stands or not. I guess at the minute, before the result has been thrown out, I guess he is technically suspended. So the obvious thing there is for Cedric Kipri to come in. But again, we'll have to wait and see. You do have to wonder what sort of impact last week will have on Ipswich. Will it make us a bit funny just on the sense that we didn't finish the game and were losing? Does that knock confidence? Or are we still just going off of the Sheffield United game? Are we still confident from that, having won 5-0 and, you know, looks like we're turning our home form around? That's really, really impressive. So we'll have to wait and see what sort of Ipswich team turn up. But I'm sure that Kieran McKenna will have them on the training ground this week, making sure that they're as prepared as they can be. One thing we haven't spoken about yet is going to be the really, really sentimental moment when we see Connor Chaplin sat on the Portsmouth bench. Now, he can't actually play for Portsmouth because he's obviously only on loan and therefore can't play against his parent club, which is us. But still, it's going to be weird. Connor Chaplin returning to Portman Road, but not as an Ipswich Town player. It's going to be a very, very strange moment to see that, and probably quite a sad one for most Ipswich fans. He's probably having mixed emotions as well, because of course he'll want Portsmouth to do well because of his previous relationships with them and the fact that he currently plays for them. But also, he loves Ipswich Town and everybody knows that. So that's going to be really, really odd to see. But in any case, I just hope that Ipswich Town can get the win, because we are now 17th. we are falling behind in the table. I think we're now 10 points off Middlesbrough at the top, which is ultimately where we want to be. I know it's early days in the season, but we need to turn our form around. We need to start picking up points, because whilst it's not crucial at the minute to have points on the board, these are the sort of games that we need to be winning if we do want to get automatic promotion. It's the home games that we have to be winning against teams like Portsmouth, who aren't necessarily going to be right up there themselves. So it's a really, really interesting fixture. I do think Ipswich have to be considered favourites going into it. Again, it just comes down to our star quality in attack that we're starting to see a little bit more of now in Jack Clark and Jayden Philogene. Confidence seems to be high, particularly among those boys. George Hurst, obviously a formidable striker at this level, albeit his form has been a little bit questionable so far this season, but he did technically score in the last game against Sheffield United, so hopefully he can build on that sort of form. And ultimately, I just think man for man, Ipswich Town do have the better squad, and that does mix in with home advantage, a good crowd behind us. I can't really see anything other than hopefully a comfortable Ipswich Town victory here. That's what I hope will happen, and on this occasion I do think it is what's going to happen as well. But we will wait and see. As ever, please do leave your predictions down in the comments, and we'll wait and see what the result is on Saturday. Otherwise, I just want to say thank you very much for watching, and as ever, keep on keeping on.